Do it. You know you want to.
I'll cut you in half.
Come on. Right here. Oh, God, it hurts. Don't stop.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my video for The Boys Season 2, Episode 5. There was so much messed up stuff during this, so many Easter eggs, so if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We'll do a new Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite messed up moment from the episode on the video. So we'll do top 10 WTF and Easter eggs as we go along. There were way extra Easter eggs, so this video will probably be a little bit longer too. Careful for spoilers from everything from the episode. Starting with number 10, the Dawn of the Seven movie in the Joss Whedon rewrite. So obviously this is hilarious. It was a very on-the-nose Easter egg about Justice League and Batman v Superman. The episode starts with them filming a scene from the Dawn of the Seven movie that they've been teasing all season. This is basically the movie about the Justice League, about the Seven within the universe of The Boys. But they're parodying the making of the Justice League movie and Joss Whedon coming on to do the rewrites for Zack Snyder after he was forced to leave the project. They incorporate all this cheesy dialogue for Maeve and this character named Ruby, who's a hacker, just the worst dialogue you could possibly think of. So this is obviously them making fun of Joss Whedon and making fun of Justice League at the same time. But the whole reason they have all those scenes with Maeve and her quote-unquote lover is because of what Homelander is doing, just completely messing with her, just trying to twist the knife. That becomes a really big subplot later in the episode though, because Maeve has her own plan to get rid of Homelander, which is really important for later this season. But while all this Dawn of the Seven movie shoot stuff is going on, it's just completely hilarious. PJ Byrne is playing the director. You saw him earlier this season when he was pitching the movie to them and they were talking about the script inside Vought's tower. Obviously Homelander doesn't care about the movie, he's just there to watch Maeve get tortured on screen and watch her go through all this crap. But then Greg Grunberg shows up in another celebrity cameo. There's all kinds of celebrities showing up all over The Boys Season 2. We find out that they're writing A-Train out of the Seven, but he tries to rewrite his dialogue because that's all about them kicking him off the team. So they're writing that into the movie, and he doesn't want to do that. Can we leave it open-ended so PJ Byrne has to deal with him? I love the fact that he reluctantly agrees because they basically tell him that if you don't do this, we're going to fire you and it's going to be a big scandal. But when he's filming his final scene, it's just a stand-in. Homelander doesn't even bother to show up to film the scene with him because they're filming him from his back, so he doesn't have to be there. That's another real-world thing that happens all the time when they make big movies. If you've ever watched the behind-the-scenes for a big Marvel movie like Avengers Endgame, for instance, Benedict Cumberbatch was actually filming other stuff while they were filming a lot of the big battle scenes. So during some of the big final battle scenes that they were filming with all these people running at each other on screen with this big green screen behind them, they would have stand-ins for some of the actors with dots on their faces, and they would just swap in like Benedict Cumberbatch's face or any of the other actors that couldn't be there at the time because of scheduling conflicts. Another funny Easter egg and a big callback to Season 1, one of the screenwriters on Dawn of the Seven is one of the guys from the therapy group who got his junk frozen off by the cold-based superhero last season. They're also part of Vought's PR team that wants to turn Maeve's relationship in real life, within the context of the show, into a big PR event. Obviously, her girlfriend doesn't want to have anything to do with that, and she's trying to explain to her, no, Homelander will kill you if you don't do what he wants you to do. So this is where her plan to take down Homelander starts, which takes her to the Deep. So she's going to manipulate the Deep and use him as a pawn in her bid, whatever her plan winds up being, to get rid of Homelander. It's also a bit of a hat tip for her helping out the boys, which is a comic book thing. Eventually in the comics, she does the same thing. She wants to turn on the Seven, turn on Homelander. So you just have one more potential person inside the Seven that's helping the boys out in addition to Starlight now. Then number 9, Homelander gets caught on tape with a big collateral damage situation. The footage of his save is hilarious too. So he flies to a foreign country to take down a fake Compound V supervillain. Remember, they're also creating the supervillains. He was responsible for running this Compound V all over the world. So he himself created the person that he's there to take down. But while he's doing that, while he's lasering him on the spot in under 5 seconds, he accidentally kills another random person in the village. It turns into a whole big thing and you see more of the Vought PR machine behind the scenes. Please don't say anything until we have a PR team on this. He gets more and more pissed off at the CEO, Giancarlo Esposito's character, from blocking him, ordering him not to say anything until they do what they want to do behind the scenes and get everything ready. It's just another example of him slowly feeling like he's losing control. Like he thinks he's in control at the beginning of the season, cut to a couple episodes later, and he has absolutely zero control over the situation. They used that to get him on Team Stormfront. Like I said, at the beginning of the season, Aya Cash said that Homelander basically hates her character for the first couple of episodes, but she slowly wins him over, and this is the episode where that happens, where he totally gets on board with her big social media campaign machine. It was hilarious watching him try to listen and understand what she was telling him. He clearly has no idea what's going on with social media. He just loves that it works so well. And another WTF callback to season 1. If you remember, Butcher's wife, Becca, was actually hired by Vought to be his social media manager in season 1, or before the events of season 1, and before everything happened with the Superboy and her getting pregnant. But then number 8, Butcher is torturing himself after what happened with Becca, just gets into a giant fight at what seems like a British metal bar, just letting the crowd beat him like it's some sort of hellish mosh pit. He finally makes nice with Huey a little bit and tries to duck the boys, so he's obviously got this plan. He's going to continue to try and get Becca back, but it seems like he's really going to throw himself on some sort of grenade. That comes back around later in the episode too, where he's just like, alright, I'm at the end of my rope here. I'm just going to do everything I can to try and save my friends. So as bad as Butcher got the first couple of episodes, it does seem like he's coming back from the brink of darkness at least a little bit. There are a couple of funny jokes that they weave into some of these moments too, as crazy as they are. Like in the background, you see Mother's Milk watching an episode of Outlander and refuses to explain himself to Huey, like, why are you watching that? Then number 7, Frenchie's trying to stop Kimiko from turning into a true monster like she was in the comics. So Kimiko is actually starting to turn more into her comic book self. She was way crazier in the comic book. We find out that just like Butcher, she's trying to deal with her grief over what just happened in a really messed up way, but she's turned into a hitman or a hit woman for the Albanians, because remember, she does have superpowers, so she's actually a really good hit person. Frenchie finds out about it when he follows her and sees that she pulls a hit on a bunch of Russian mobsters who are all busy arguing about the merits of the Hamilton play. I thought that was kind of funny, like they're just casually arguing about Hamilton. He's also horrified to find out that his ex-girlfriend, who he was just with, is the one that's passing along the information on the hits to Kimiko. She'll probably also eventually come back from the brink. Like, clearly he wants to help her and she wants to communicate with him, but he doesn't understand the special sign language that she created with her brother. So she's not doing real sign language. That's actually a language that they created by themselves when they were in a camp a long time ago as children. I think eventually what'll wind up happening is that Frenchie will learn a little bit of that. He'll start to understand her. Then, like her brother said a long time ago, she just stopped talking, so she can actually still talk. She just hasn't talked in a long time. Then number 6, they go to Butcher's aunt in the suburbs, and you learn a lot about his backstory. Some of it's really funny, some of it's messed up, and they bring Terror onto the show from the comics. Everybody was wondering if they were going to do Terror. We find out that his aunt is every bit as messed up as him, so it sounds like it runs in the family. Like, she seems like this sweet old lady, but then as you learn more and more about her, she becomes more and more hardcore. Like, she's a dealer, she has a bit of a chem lab in her basement with prescription pills, and she swears like a sailor. She tells Huey all about Butcher's little brother and how basically Huey looks kind of like him and is sort of a surrogate version of his little brother. And in present day on The Boys, they have the same sort of relationship that Butcher had with his little brother. He was his original canary in the coal mine, the person that would bring Butcher back from the brink of darkness. It was just a moment meant to humanize Butcher a little bit more and bring Huey closer to him, help him understand why Butcher was so messed up and why he was so important inside the boys. Because remember at the beginning of the season, he's like, I could be the Harry Potter of the group, I could be the person that nobody thinks is special, but winds up being the most special boy. So he's starting to realize where he fits into the boys, at least right now. His role could always change in the future, but right now it's really just balancing out Butcher. Then number 5, The Boys versus Black Noir. There are a couple really funny WTF moments during all this, and obviously they have a big standoff with the CEO as well. When Huey suggests that they just take off in the car, he can never catch us. Mother's Milk reminds him, no, he's faster than the car. So it's just another superpower that you didn't know that Black Noir had. We knew he was quick, but we didn't know how quick. Butcher actually tries to throw himself on the grenade and just sacrifice himself to Black Noir in order to save his friends. They blow the hell out of his aunt's house. She doesn't seem to care at all by the end of the episode. She takes it like a champ. And Butcher's only able to save them by making the CEO believe that he has evidence against Homelander about his son and what he did to his wife. It's pretty clear from his conversation with Huey after Black Noir takes off that he does not have that evidence. Like, oh yeah, I totally wink wink have it. I have all those pictures that I'll totally release if they try to hurt us. There's also a big Black Noir comic book Easter egg here too. They've already changed the character a lot from the comics, but during this scene here where he's almost like a finger puppet for the CEO, obeying every one of his commands, that is a big comic book thing. It just lets you know that within the Seven, there are people who are more loyal to Vought than others. Like Homelander is really combative with the CEO. He wants to do what he wants to do. But Black Noir seems like he'll do anything at the drop of a hat that the CEO says, almost like he's his finger puppet. If they wind up going more down the Black Noir comic book path, that'll become a bigger thing later this season, maybe during season 3, so just remember that. I love the final scene that Butcher has with Terror as well, where he replaces the pig that he humps with a Homelander doll. That's also right out of the comics. The trigger word that he says to Terror to get him to start humping stuff, that's right out of the comics. But in the comics, it's way more messed up because it's actually happening to real superheroes. He tells Terror to start screwing real superheroes. Number 4 WTF, the Deep's propaganda commercial for the cult. Another celebrity guest cameo by Goran Visnich. You probably recognized him at least a little bit. I don't know how big of a character he's going to be this season because of this whole storyline with the Church of the Collective and the Deep being caught in this cult. Obviously, the commercial is meant to be really bad on purpose. It's super on the nose. It's just hilarious watching him go through all these different steps. But remember, this is meant to be a parody of a lot of real-world religious organizations trying to get a toehold in Hollywood and other major organizations, so they want the Deep back on the Seven so that they can have someone from the church on the Seven and someone that they can control, or at least that they think that they can control. There's also that funny interview with Katie Couric, another celebrity guest cameo, where he's talking about his marriage. Obviously, this is going to probably blow up in the most fantastic way for the Deep. But then things slowly start to get more and more messed up as the episode gets on. So number 3 WTF, Homelander goes to the anti-Homelander protest and almost lasers every single person. So obviously this is him just slowly losing his grip on reality. It just seems like he's going crazier and crazier, which is a bit of a comic book Easter egg. But the big twist here is that he's just fantasizing about killing all these people. So I did wonder how they were going to play this, because I didn't think they were going to go off the rails quite so fast, quite so soon. If you've read the comics, obviously we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, because I don't know how many seasons of The Boys there'll be before things completely go off the rails, but this kind of gives you a preview for what things might look like when Homelander eventually just completely loses it. Right now, he's still obsessed with his popularity and people loving him. Like he tells Stormfront after her campaign works, "I went up 5 points in the polls. Thank you so much. I totally owe you." But then number 2, this is actually a bit of a teaser for future episodes. We find out that Stormfront is talking to Lamplighter, who seems like he's in a psychiatric hospital, who's played by Shawn Ashmore, aka Iceman from the X-Men movies. So Lamplighter is a fire-based hero. It's kind of funny that Shawn Ashmore, ice-based hero, is now playing a fire-based hero. What they're implying is going on here is that Stormfront had something to do with Lamplighter probably winding up in the psychiatric hospital, and that's probably tied to him being kicked off the Seven before the events of Season 1 and killing all those children that Frenchie was actually talking about to his ex-girlfriend a couple episodes ago. They keep making references to all these messed up things that Lamplighter did, and remember, the woman who started The Boys with Butcher, her grandchildren were killed by Lamplighter. That was the reason why she started The Boys in the first place. We'll get more Lamplighter in future episodes, but this is just a clue to what Stormfront seems like she does to people that she quote-unquote controls. Like she implies when she's talking to Starlight that she's going to be quote-unquote useful to her in the future. She's going to use her in some nefarious way or manipulate her as part of her terror social media campaigns. So it just becomes clear that Stormfront is a master at manipulating people. This is also a potential future for Homelander too. If Lamplighter completely drank her Kool-Aid and wound up in the psychiatric hospital, what's going to happen to Homelander when she completely works him over? Then obviously number 1 WTF was Homelander and Stormfront going full hentai, and there are actually, I think, some deeper Easter eggs going on here too, in addition to just the obvious, really crazy stuff that they do together. So he comes to thank her because her campaign works so well. There was a funny moment too where she's like, when it winds up on your uncle's Facebook page, that's when you know that it's working. And he sort of laughs kind of nervously because he has no uncle. He doesn't even have parents that he knows about. That'll be really important in just a second, but clearly they're both degenerates and she wants something from him to get her hooks into him, to manipulate him in some way, and sort of use her body to twist him to her purposes. It's not really clear if she actually has any genuine interest in him or if she's just using him. But they go full BDSM, and you find out that she's way more powerful than you thought that she was. She can soak a bunch of his heat damage from his heat vision. Like she says, see, you can't hurt me very easily. And then they just proceed to have superhero sex across her entire apartment, destroying the entire place. Obviously, it's super messed up, but the even more messed up theory here is that if they're going to stick even closer to Stormfront in the comics, talking about Easter eggs, in the comics, Stormfront was the genetic template that they used, that Vought used, to create Homelander. Vought American and Vogelbaum may have used some of Stormfront's DNA to help create Homelander and make him powerful because they share a lot of the same abilities, they're almost the same power level. So Stormfront might actually be the closest thing that Homelander has to a mother. And think about it this way, with all the mommy issues that Homelander has, the milk fetish, doesn't it seem like sleeping with his mother accidentally feels like the most Homelander thing you could possibly do? There's a lot of other Stormfront stuff going on in the episode in the background too, like we find out about her quote-unquote mother Adele, but the thing about her mother, like Starlight uses that as the password to crack her email and finds out all the emails that she's been sending to that group that she uses for those social media campaigns. The Adele person in the picture that she's with is actually a recent picture, and she does look like she could be her mother in present day, but remember, Stormfront is 70 years old. The woman in the picture seems like she's in her 70s, so instead of her mother, she might be lying, and this might wind up being her little sister or something like that. But post all your Homelander Stormfront theories in the comics. Do you think that she's going to secretly wind up being a version of his mother? Not his traditional mother, like didn't give birth to him, but just used a lot of her DNA to create him, so effectively they're kind of related. It'd be a very Game of Thrones twist for the boys, and the boys trades in really messed up stuff like that. But my episode 6 video will post next week. As long as you have alerts enabled for my channel, you should see that video when I post it. Congratulations, Ben P. You're the giveaway winner from my last Big Boys video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone, click here for that brand new Avengers Hulk casting announcement, and click here for the Boys Season 2 Episode 4 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.